And yeah, we're going to keep the college focus going right now because joining us, a man that we got to know during his time in El Paso. He is Brian Burton, a former UTEP assistant who now is become a big shot podcaster. He's got his own network. It's called the All Access Network. He's getting lots and lots of people checking it out. The podcast is going very, very well. They even have their own YouTube channel. And Coach Burton joins us via Zoom here to begin our final hour of the show. It's great to see you, and man, it's nice that you finally got smart and went into our own business that we've been doing all these years. It's about time.
You know, and I took notes from greatness, man. I took notes from you and guys like you and Adrian and all the guys out there, and figured out, you know what, if you can't beat them, join them. So I decided to join you.
Good for you. Well, you know what? And I heard it's been going very well. You've been really enjoying the ride. It's a different transition going from coaching basketball and teaching basketball to getting behind a microphone and talking to coaches and different individuals, players. But, give me the backstory and how we've seen the rise now of really All Access Network and how that's turned into something for you.
Yeah, it's as a man of faith that I am, I would say it's definitely a God thing. I never intended for that. I have always thought the things that guys like yourself do and sports broadcasters get to do is a really cool part of the sports side. You get to stay undefeated, which is always a great thing.
That's true.
But yeah, I think just, the older I got into the business to try to figure out the end game, some guys just want to be head coaches. And I think I had an aspiration to be a head coach, but the more and more I kind of looked at it, and the pandemic slowed everybody's life down and made us pivot and kind of rethink some things. And family's important to me, so spending time with my family is important. But, this game's been so good to me and so much love for this game. And I think I was able to see so many things. So I got connected with rising coaches kind of randomly, to be honest. Me and Lamont Smith, we're hosting some Zooms kind of like this and talking hoops and inviting different guys on to share their story and show that they could coach some ball, and everybody's trying to figure out how to make the time work and stay sane during the pandemic.
That's true.
And it started there, and it really grew. We started with we called it Talking Hoops, and really wanted to help guys be able to show and learn and grow in their craft as far as coaching. Obviously, we know Lamont's a big time basketball coach who loves the game and the intricate details of the game, and so it started there. I actually had an interview at an NAIA school, and me and Lamont were talking all the time, and I was picking his brain about different things, and we just decided to host it. So then it just kind of grew. It started with 4 people, went to 16, 28, 52, 75. We had over 100 a couple of times, and then some people from Rising Coaches actually was on one of them and kind of was like, hey, we'd love you to do something like this with us. And then so it started there last year. We had a bunch of Zooms that I hosted with different coaches. We had, I want to say, we had over 100 guests. We had over 450 participants just in 3 social justice roundtables, which was pretty powerful. When the George Floyd murder happened, just felt like our basketball community needed to kind of come together and figure out how we could be better. So that was a big deal. And then, just kind of transitioned. And school started. And I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do during the school year? And God kind of put it on my heart to get into the media side of things and tell the coaches side of the story. There's so many times where not a lot of former coaches in media, not a lot of former players in media. So, and not a lot of minorities, to be honest, in media. So wanted to have a chance to, tell more of the story. And it's been really cool that we've been able to really have some impactful things happen, and had a number of guests all the way from, I think we had 40 teams from the NCAA tournament. They came on, 40 different coaches that are participated in the NCAA tournament. We had well over probably 200 coaches on this season. And I just kind of figured out some people along the way that I was close with through the media, like Kevin Sweeney, become a good friend of mine, and kind of pitched the idea to him at first, and he was all for it. And then there's a guy that I covered us when I was at Fresno in the Mountain West, Eli Bodiger, and he so we do a Mountain West show, and he also has a website called Heat Check CBB. So we do kind of an alternating thing on Tuesdays. And then there's a high school guy that I got really close with from recruiting up Texas so much that we do a high school show in Texas together. And then JUCO advocate Brandon Goebel, we do a JUCO Hoops Insider on Friday, and just kind of added different shows. Now we got an HBCU show we do sometimes every other Friday, and Rising Coaches just started a carousel show, which is basically talking about the job market. So it's kind of just expanded and blown up to all kind of different things. I have done a little sports broadcasting, which was fun. Hoping to get more into that, and still doing some stuff with basketball. Still doing some stuff here, and I live in Colorado now, so I'm in the Mountain West region, and still do some stuff with some kids out here just to be able to get back to the game. So yeah, I'm plenty busy.
What part of Colorado are you living in now?
I live right near Fort Collins. It's called Loveland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good little area. My wife's parents live here, and her sister lives in Fort Collins. So one of her sisters. So it's been good. She's put up with me in this crazy coaching game for long enough. We lived in 7 cities, Steve, in 3 years of marriage. Our first 3 years of marriage, 7 combined cities. From starting at Lamar, she was in Wichita Falls, Texas. Then we moved to Fresno. Then we moved to Paso, and then kind of went to Dallas, Indiana, Colorado. It's been a little bit everywhere. So it's been nuts, but she's put up with me. So I figured we should live where she wants to live now.
Now, let me ask you this, because since you finally got smart and listened to your wife, which, I mean, it took you long enough. I'm happy you finally did that.
I know, right?
It sounds like this business venture of yours has a chance to really continue to grow and expand. Multiple sports, multiple territories. Could you eventually see this being a portal to where college, high school, just athletes in all these different states and regions band together and use the same kind of model in that talk format? Is that kind of where you think this could go?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where it could go, to be honest. I kind of just, again, the faith part of me is just like, be obedient, just go for it. If you build it, they will come. Field of dreams kind of motto.
Yep.
Had no idea what I was doing, but wanted to touch all levels. I think all levels that I've been at. So junior college is an underappreciated level. I think mid-major basketball is an underappreciated level. And then, and naturally, everybody wants to cover the high majors. Then high school, I'm biased towards high school because that's where you recruit players. And there's a lot of guys that still need more exposure. So we've done some cool stuff. We actually interviewed Brendan Winslow's sister, who committed. She's our first female we interviewed. And so we've done some player interviews. She committed to Virginia Tech. She's a 4-star out of Texas. And then we've had a couple other interviews with some high school kids. So just kind of trying to touch all levels. We have a former player of mine who wants to do some pro stuff. So we'll see if we can jump into that level. But right now, we're definitely staying busy and having fun with it. And we've had a lot of success so far, I think, humbly speaking.
That's great. I love it. We've got Coach Brian Burton with us here on Sports Talk as we continue on the show. And that's really what it's all about, having fun, doing what you're doing, watching it grow, seeing the success. Who knows where it's going to go from there. And obviously, credibility is a big thing. You get 40 of the 68 teams in the tournament to come on and join you. That's a lot of fun. I'm happy you mentioned the mid-majors because think about what we've seen so far. Loyola Chicago is 2 wins away from going back to the Final Four. I know they're really not a mid-major anymore, but Gonzaga is still not a power. They're not in a power conference. They're in the West Coast Conference, but they're practically a power school disguised in a conference like that. But then you also have Oral Roberts. What a story that is to see them win. And how about Abilene Christian shocking Texas, and now Shaka Smart going to Marquette? It's been a wild merry-go-round this last week or so.
Yeah, it really has. And I can say, so a cool part for the show. So Gonzaga, we've had on. Loyola, we've had on. Oral Roberts head coach, we've had on. Joe Golding, we've had all 4 of their assistants and head coach on. I used to work there, so I'm close to those guys. And then North Texas is another one of those teams that's an underrated seed, Conference USA. I believe they're 15 seed, if I'm not mistaken, or 14.
13.
13. So, and they made their run, and I used to work for McCaslin and Hodge. So they've been on. So McCaslin has not. I take that back. Ross has, and so has Jareem Dowling. So we've had several of those mid-major teams on the show, the live shows during the year. And those are the guys we want to highlight, and the cool thing for Oral Roberts, they have 2 Texas players that are the best players. So we've kind of been able to touch on all that. So I love this part of the year. I think the part for the coaches don't always get to tell their story, and especially the assistant coaches. I kind of started the show with the intent to be able to get more assistant coaches reps to be able to get media reps, and be able to tell their side of the story. And you always hear from the head coach, but it's like the assistant coaches, as I know, behind the scenes doing a lot of great things. So I wanted to be able to highlight some of those guys. And, I was a point guard when I played. I was a pass first guy, and I get a lot of pride and joy out of just serving other people and helping other people get a chance to get their flowers. So I'm enjoying it because I think it fits within who I am. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to wear any mask. I don't have to be in any box, and I get to create, which is, I think, something that I've always been passionate about, and then serving others. And so it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what happens in the Sweet 16. We didn't mention Houston. Houston was still counted as a mid-major. They've also been on. So friends with those guys. I'm biased towards Texas, if you can't tell, but yeah, I think Houston. I actually picked them to go to the Final Four.
Did you pick Baylor to go to the Final Four?
I picked Baylor to go to the Final Four and win it all.
Okay, so you do believe that when it's all said and done, we will see a Texas national champion this year. Then again, you are biased, but based on your bias, that's right.
I'm extremely biased, and I actually really love those guys at Baylor because, two of the guys on the staff are I would consider myself to be really close friends with, Jerome Tang and Alvin Brooks III. Those guys have been on as well, and I just think they have a really elite level team. And when it comes down to it, I think their battle tested conference play will help them get over the edge over a team like Gonzaga or Michigan or Florida State or whoever they may play.
I might be wrong on this because after years, I forget more than anything else.
Yeah.
But didn't Alvin Brooks serve as an assistant at UTEP at one point in time? Or am I wrong?
Alvin Brooks Sr. He did.
Senior.
Alvin Brooks Sr. So this is his son, Alvin Brooks III.
Okay.
So Alvin Brooks is now at Houston, but he was on Billy Gillespie's staff at UTEP. He was. And he's one of the people me and Coach Terry called. I'll never forget it. We were in the car recruiting, and I called him on 3 because I'm like, Coach, you got to listen to Coach Brooks and what he has to say about, UTEP, so we can kind of get the intel. And he said this is one of his favorite stops, if not his favorite stop of all the places he's been. And he talked about it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but he had a chance to possibly be the head coach and stay during that whole transition. But I think something lured away to Houston. I think his family or maybe his son. And so he really felt compelled, but he may have had an opportunity to be head coach. But he loves UTEP, loves the El Paso fans, loves his time there. And he just felt like that's one of his best stops in his career. And he's been to Kentucky and everywhere else, but he just loved UTEP.
I'm just happy my memory is not completely escaping me, and there's still names like that I remember from years ago.
No, you're sharp as a tack. It's not failing you.
That's good to hear. Right now, Brian Burton's joining us, former UTEP assistant coach. Since then, he has been around. He's had a couple of other jobs, and now he's in the podcast game, folks. All Access Network. You heard Coach talk about that. He's got his own YouTube channel. How can people check out some of your podcasts, some of your work? What do they need to do, Coach?
Yeah, pretty simple on the YouTube. It's just All Access Network. Pretty simple. You'll pull up everything there. And then on, what is it? Twitter, it is All Access_net. All Access_net. So most of the stuff you can find there. We do have Facebook as well, and we're going to have a website soon. It'll be www.allaccessnetwork.com.
Very nice. Oh, you got the actual All Access Network handle. Very nice.
How about that?
That's a big time domain. No underscores, no dashes. Good for you. I'm excited about that.
Not bad.
How many videos you have right now on your YouTube channel, would you say?
Ooh, that's a great question. Man, I should know the answer to that. I really should. My team would be disappointed I don't know that, but I would say probably it's over 200. I'll put it that way.
Hey, you got a couple hundred videos. There's a lot to choose from. That's why.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to know that when they check it out, they'll have a lot of material. It sounds like they'll have hours and hours of material to watch. Yeah, different. And so what we've done is we try to chop up the videos, and we're starting to release them for the segment. So like, let's say you're a Baylor fan and you want to watch just the Baylor coach's interview. Yep. Well, his 20-minute, 15-minute interview is in its own YouTube. And you can watch the full show, which is 2 hours, probably like you guys. You guys probably go 3 hours, but if you just want to watch the segment, you can just watch the segment. So we've created more videos, and we're trying to splice the content up so those specific guests can watch just exactly what they want to watch, and those fans. Fantastic. Now, have you been watching a lot of basketball these last couple of weeks? I have. I feel like I've been watching all year, trying to keep up with Kevin Sweeney and guys like that I work with. I'm watching JUCO games on stream. I'm watching high school games. I'm watching college games. So I got the laptop, the iPad, the TV. So it's been fun, though. I mean, this is what you love. You love the game. So this is the most exciting time of year. Best story for you so far in the tournament? Has it been the Oral Roberts run? Has it been Loyola Chicago almost, getting 2 games away from being back to the Final Four for the first time in 4 years? What would you say is the best story so far?
Yeah, great question. I would have to say, biasly, personally, it would have to be the Abilene Christian story. I was there at Abilene Christian when it was a Division II, and when Joe first got hired, Joe Golding. I was with him for 2 years, Division II, and then 1 year, the first year, Division I. And Kevin actually or Sports Illustrated, and Kevin Sweeney actually wrote a really cool article about the journey, because Golding said, he's like, when we first got the job and we're Division I, we were the worst Division I in the country, and now we just beat University of Texas in the NCAA tournament. So just to even imagine that concept, and so to go on that ride and be friends with him through this whole thing, and be able to support him through this whole thing, and see them, it's different if they beat another team. Like Oral Roberts beating Ohio State was still extremely big time, and then beating Florida. But for Abilene Christian to go from that transition and then beat the flagship school in the state, I just thought was an incredible story.
Do you see, Joe Golding as somebody that's going to be landing either a high mid major or eventually, a Power 5 job?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, he has all the quality that you would want as far as the personality, the ability to coach, the ability to recruit, the age. So I would say yes. The hard part is there's so many good coaches in this region, even though there's so many jobs open. Texas is open right now. Oklahoma's open right now. And the way that people are talking, there's going to be some dominoes and some other high majors that are going to open. So I think he's going to be in the conversation for almost all of them, but I just don't know where does that conversation go, and maybe is it a year or two down the line. But I have said many times, and I'll say it again on record, they need to build a statue for him at Abilene Christian, because it wasn't even a good Division II historically. It wasn't very successful. So now to have gone to the tournament back-to-back seasons, essentially without the pandemic year, is just incredible.
Fair enough to say also that if you can win in Abilene, Texas, you can win anywhere?
Probably fair to say that. It is a niche job, though. I will say not everybody that could win other places could win at Abilene Christian, but I do think he can win at a lot of other places just using that same formula.
Who are some of your other picks right now? A team that you think you've already told me Houston and Baylor are two. You got Baylor winning the whole thing. Who do you think will also go? Do you think Michigan can go all the way to the Final Four with Juwan Howard?
Yeah, I'm super biased towards some of these schools, so I'm not going to even front and say I'm anything different. So I was born in Michigan. My mom actually went to University of Michigan. I grew up rooting for the Fab Five and Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boy Pistons. So Juwan Howard, I'm hoping can pull that off. Hopefully, they're one of their better players gets back. I'm hoping Livers will be back and they'll be but they played at a high level without him. So yeah, I picked them to go to the actual national championship game, believe it or not, and beat Gonzaga just because of my bias. But I do think Gonzaga is most likely the team to go and play against Baylor. I think those have been the best two teams all year. So I'm picking those two and still going with Baylor.
How about the job Eric Musselman's done so far at Arkansas this season?
Yeah, he's we saw him up close and personal when we were at Fresno. I think anytime you've been in the game as long as he has, his dad grew up in the game. He's coached in the NBA. He's, you kind of sometimes fail your way to success. And I'm not saying he failed, but he was not great in the NBA. And I think sometimes when you go through that path and you go back to being an assistant, I think he's just like really applying all the lessons he's learned. And he's never struggled to recruit. He's always had really good players. David Patrick's a high level assistant as well, as long as the rest of the staff, but not surprised. But I think even more in the SEC, the job Nate Oates has done at Alabama is probably more so the one I would point out in the SEC, because, he's coming from a mid-major as Buffalo. He was a high school head coach. So we had a kid come visit us, Will Clyburn, when I was at Utah. And he literally stayed at my house. I had to tell him on the road. He's like, I remember that now. He stayed at my house because his kid was coming on a visit. I said stay at my house. He slept on the couch one night when he was probably supposed to go back to his hotel room, but it's late night. But what a great guy. And then he ends up becoming an assistant at Buffalo, then becomes the head coach. Then they become this mid-major giant. And then now all of a sudden he's doing at a high level at Alabama. So I love to see those stories too, because again, humble beginnings and just kind of made away for himself. And he's as good a coach there is in the country right now.
Coach Brian Burton with us here on Sports Talk as we continue. Who do you have knocking out Gonzaga?
I have Michigan beating Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga will beat I have USC beating Oregon,
Okay.
Gonzaga winning against Creighton, and then Gonzaga going to the Final Four. I got Michigan beating Florida State in a close one, Alabama winning that one against UCLA, and then Michigan beating Alabama in a close one. Baylor Villanova is going to be a high level play game, but I think Baylor's just too good, especially without their point guard. If Villanova had their point guard, probably be a different game, but they don't have him. And then Oral Roberts is going to take it to the wire with Arkansas, but I think they're going to beat them. I do have Loyola Chicago going to Elite Eight and then losing to Houston, and then Kelvin Sampson in Houston. I have them going to Final Four.
What a job Kelvin Sampson's been doing, not just this year, but the last few years. I mean, he's
been dominant.
He's resurrected that Houston program.
He really has. Phi Slama Jama is looking at this program right now and saying they're right there to competing for national championships too. And for him to be as dominant in that high level league, that's a high level basketball league.
Do you think it's just an amount of time before another Texas school will win a national championship? And, we've always talked about how UTEP and then Texas Western, the only school in the state of Texas to win a national championship. But I've said it forever, and I'll continue to say it. When Don Haskins was alive, he rooted for the Texas schools to win. He wanted to see another Texas school win. So is it just a matter of time before that ends up happening?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the beginning of the tournament, every Texas team won their first game except for University of Texas. And everyone was playing at such a high level. So I think there's so much great basketball. Of course, I'm biased to Texas, but Baylor being a number 1 seed, Houston being a number 2 seed, it's definitely only a matter of time. I think it's this year, though. I think Texas Tech was close, and UTEP fans were, of course, cheering. Some of them were cheering for them not to get it because they wanted to still hold the crown. But I'm going to say it's coming very soon, and I think Baylor's going to be the one to do it.
Okay. Now, as far as All Access Network goes, how often are the podcasts, up? And again, people, what is the easiest way that they can keep track of everything you've got going on?
Yeah, so Twitter is we stream live from Twitter. Also, we stream live from Rising Coaches Twitter as well. So our own Twitter, which is All Access _net, NET. So we stream from those 2 places on Twitter. We stream from Facebook as well. And then we also have a YouTube channel that is All Access Network on YouTube. And so during the season, we have basically 4 days a week we go live, and sometimes we go twice on a particular day, like a Friday. But in the off season, we're kind of like we're in off season mode. So we have some live interviews we still do for podcasts. We'll have certain guys like some guys that are coming up, or some of these guys that have just gotten jobs. We'll interview those guys on the YouTube channel, and then also again streaming live everywhere. But and then we also do some pre-recorded podcasts that we'll just release out. So the off season is kind of the off season. You just kind of catch sporadic. Subscribe to All Access Network on YouTube. That's the easiest way to keep up, and they'll give you all the notifications. And when the season hits up again, we'll have so with Kevin Sweeney, we do a coast to coast. We literally cover every conference coast to coast. And then we have a couple other different college basketball shows. We have a JUCO show, high school, and again, historically Black college and university show. So got a little bit of everything going on. It's a lot of fun. And we're right now, the biggest one we do on Thursday mornings is the coaching carousel, which people have been pretty tuned into. We actually called, I shouldn't say we did call the Shaka Smart possibility. I actually brought it up and thought that was the move he was probably going to make. And congratulations to Shaka Smart. I think he is a tremendous coach. Sometimes when you get off to a place and it just doesn't get off to a great start, it's hard to kind of turn it. And he did as good of a job as you can do, but ultimately it was time for him to probably have a new start somewhere else.
Agree with you completely. I'm looking forward to it. It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. That's good. A lot's happened to you over the last year or so during the pandemic. So congratulations to you, the family, the new additions.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll look forward to keeping tabs with you and having you back on the show to talk college hoops.
Yeah, thanks so much. We got a new baby girl, too, that we just had a month and a half ago. So excited about that, baby Kobe. And thanks for having me back. It's cool to come back to spend some time with my boys in El Paso, man. El Paso is a great place. It was great to me. And, look forward to at some point down the road coming back to hang out. Thanks for the invite.